All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to day two, the final day of our virtual Climate Justice Fellows Retreat. So this morning, we're going to do a few things. We're going to take a few minutes to hear from you all on some takeaways from yesterday. We're going to hear from our Associate Executive Director, Chris Wright, and then we're going to get started and jump right into part two of our workshop with Mariah Barber. So I first wanted to take a moment to welcome everyone here. We are not going to do icebreakers this morning. I think most of us have been here. Should I find someone new here, I'll make sure I have them introduce themselves in the chat. But right now, there are uh, 13 of us here. So I would really love to have at least three volunteers to come off of mute or raise your hand and I'll call you in an order. And just tell me maybe one thing you really enjoyed yesterday, one thing you learned new yesterday, and one thing you're looking forward to um, learning about today. So I see two hands went up really quickly, so I'm going to call on Sherelle and then Jim. Welcome back, Jim. Thanks for joining us. So Sherelle, Jim, and then Miriam. Thank you guys for volunteering. And I know I asked for three volunteers, but if anybody else wants to share, please be sure to raise your hand. So we'll go Sherelle, Jim, and then Miriam.
Hi, thank you, Nicole, and hello, everybody. Yesterday, I really appreciated the concept of the short scripts, the zines, and the memes. To the point that I had a very long conversation with my boss about how to implement that into the work that we do, because we don't do that, and it's useful, and we need that in the space that we're in. And so I'm looking forward. I really appreciated that, and today I'm looking forward to the conversation around truth telling. Um, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. So next we have Jim and then Miriam.
Hello, Nicole, can you hear me? Well,
Jim, we're having a
hello.
hard time
Can,
hearing you.
can, hello, Nicole, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. I'm an older guy, 79 years old. I've been involved in civil rights movement. I've been involved in anti-war movement, and in the last several years, in the climate change, save the environment movement. Most of these organizations, if not all of them, have been what you call coalitions. And yesterday, Sonia Demaray really gave a good explanation of coalitions. I researched coalitions and I started a few, and most of them die, and they die for a couple of reasons. In the beginning, lots of people join up and they expect uh, immediate victory. They're not in for the long haul. Uh, and if time passes and you don't achieve your goal, so many people leave, and then you're down to a few. I call them diehards, crusaders, and just a small number of people. I guess that's the nature of a volunteer organization. Uh, People come in and people leave, and a coalition is not designed for the long haul to solve a problem that's going to take extraordinary effort year after year after year. But I really enjoyed Sonia's discussion about coalitions. And Nicole, I'm quite impressed by the way you handle your meetings. They're very efficient. and very, very informative.
Thank you, Jim. And then Miriam, before Miriam goes for folks coming in, we're sharing about our takeaways for yesterday. So we are sharing one thing we really enjoyed yesterday, one thing new that we learned yesterday, and one thing that we're looking forward to today.
Hello, good morning and good afternoon for some. What I learned a lot really, but one came to my mind because I am specialized in organization development. That a statement, you lead the process and not the people, because the people are free. And if you lead, you lead by example and by values. Second thing, it was interesting to know about Sankofa. The what's the other one? It's Haiko. Yeah, and
Yes.
I want to learn more about it. Um, yeah, and also the stories, um, how significant and how much it can tell about our purpose to improve the environment and our lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miriam. Yes, so and please be sure Mariah did share her contact information in the chat with everyone yesterday. I'm sure she'll share it again. So anything that you would love to learn more about, pardon me, anything that you would love to learn more about, yeah, please let us know. You can be in touch with the presenters. And if you have any questions after the presenters, remember we're going to use the Q&A feature for any questions that we have, but we're also going to continue to use the chat for networking, sharing resources, and I think you guys did a really great job at that yesterday. So is there anybody else who'd like to share that came in? I do see we have a new person here today. Could you please introduce yourself in the chat or come off mute and tell us how to say your name? Last name Nema, Nema. All right, maybe they're unable to come off mute. But in the meantime, I wanted to share some uh, small updates. I'll repeat them later for our fellows. Those of you that are joining us in person for um, symposium, please be sure to make sure you register. We need to get you all registered for symposium using the link that I sent to you. Uh, excuse me, you should use the email to which the link was shared with you. Those of you joining us virtually for symposium, please be sure you have a little more time. Virtual registration closes a little later than in-person registration. And those of you who have to travel, current fellows who have to travel to symposium, please be sure to respond to the email that I shared with you all with travel information so that we can get that all taken care of. Um, we have a few new folks coming in. The new folks coming in, I'm going to ask you to share. We are sharing. Hi, Stephanie. So we are sharing one thing we enjoyed yesterday, one thing we learned new yesterday, and then one thing we are looking forward to today. So I would love for any of the new folks that just hopped on, to please come off mute and go ahead and share. Don't all go at once. Stephanie, would you like to go?
Stephanie Yarborough?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I guess the other Stephanie in here.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well on this Saturday morning. I know it's not morning everywhere, so wherever you are, I hope you're having a wonderful moment. Yesterday, I really loved the work we did with Mariah. This probably was my most favorite, to be totally honest. I love that a lot. I resonated with that a lot. But I learned so much about coalition building and what the young lady mentioned about the memes. Everything. I got something good out of everything. So I really enjoyed the whole entire day on yesterday.
Thank you, Stephanie. Yotam, I know it's 4 p.m. where you are. Would you like to come off mute and share with us?
Hello, I heard my name, but I didn't get the first part of the question. I was having network issues.
Oh, okay, no worries. I'll repeat for you. So we are sharing one thing we enjoyed yesterday, one thing we learned new yesterday, and one thing we are looking forward to today.
Oh yes, thank you for the space. Yesterday was such an amazing energy giving, and I loved the fact it was more interactive. The icebreakers was good. It gave us space to be free to express ourselves and how we feel we can fight for the good cause in our communities. And yes, I took the this concept like lead the people. You lead the process, not the people. I think that was part of the most of the beautiful takeaway that I got yesterday. And I'm looking to the very best of what today is gonna give. Thank you.
Thank you, Yotam. Alma, could you come off mute and share with us?
Of course. Thank you, Nicole. Good morning, everyone from Mexico City. It's morning for us. Happy Saturday. Well, one thing that I did enjoy it on yesterday, it was the fact that we were vulnerable and we could talk to our hearts and to actually realize how effective that is in our professional work. Because normally, I guess we are like very, at least myself, I think it's like we are very used to like professional things are very much apart from the heart. You don't need to leave, personal things to come up. And at the end of the day, in the type of work that we do, is persons that come also first. So I enjoyed that. Another thing that I learned a lot, there were several, but effective communication, the way we could use also like new technology to do so. That was also for me something that I learned that it was very helpful. And one thing that I'm looking forward today is to get to know each other more and to learn more about this storytelling and the tools that we can use also to make or help other people to make their message clear from their own voices. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Alma. Who else is here who hasn't shared? Jess Clark, do you mind sharing with us a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah, yesterday was like it was such a great learning experience, and it was so beautiful, like Alma said, to just like be people and be vulnerable and um, be able to express ourselves in that space all together. And yeah, I think the messages about communication were really valuable too. I know this was brought up already about like guiding the process and not like telling people what to do. And I think that that is, I mean, it's so critical, but also like it's challenging and it's kind of delicate sometimes, like learning how to communicate with people in a way that um, you know is not like directive, but also like um, you know, maybe uh, providing information and support and guidance um, and being able to communicate kind of what the whys of like why people um, should care about climate justice and the issues in their community. Yeah, and just I mean today really just looking forward to being here in this space with you all and learning more.
Thank you so much, Jess. And we're going to hear from just one more person before we move into a very short activity. And then it'll be time for us to hear from Mariah. So one more person. Can I get a volunteer or should I voluntold someone? I think I am going to voluntold Albert. And I'm choosing you, Albert, because I didn't get the chance yesterday. I really like what you shared with us in the chat when you guys were doing your exercises, but for some reason, um, I was not able to react or comment on things that you put in the chat yesterday. So I would love to hear from you this morning.
Sure. Thank you. Um, I think collectively they all provided very unique perspectives. Sonia, Jessica, and Mariah like all had like very motivating and inspiring messages, which I sincerely appreciated. So just looking forward to a continuation of the learning process and learning with everybody.
Thank you so much. Give me 1 second to pull up the activity for you guys. I also want to commend all of you for being here today. I know sometimes our Saturdays can be busy, but I really thank you for your dedication to the program and just wanting to learn more and be here with us. And of course, technology happens when it wants to, and my browser just started started updating by itself. So give me a couple of minutes.
Oh, while you do that, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, thank you, Azania.
Probably not. I just wanted to add to the conversation about yesterday's content. Um, quick way. And I think I said a little bit about that yesterday, but I think it's always important for people who do this frontline work to list a care kind of for themselves really and collect. And I think that the strategies that were today really resonated with me on that point. Because when you've been in this movement for a long time, I'm the daughter of an EJ pioneer. And so my life has been centered around this work in varying degrees and now more in a leadership role. And so I immediately saw the need to be able to integrate these strategies in our work, like when we have our annual summit in Atlanta in June. I think it will help us, facilitate the commitment, the ability to really keep pushing on in the face of so many challenges, particularly as it relates to policy.
Yes, thank you, Azania. Policy is definitely something that can be really heavy. So having these types of activities and things that are fun, making sure we remind people about self-care um, is really, really important. And I do, like you said, um, policy gets in the thick of it, and we're experiencing things surrounding policy right now, in the United States. Um, not to I have vowed not to speak that person's name, so I will just say um, it can be daunting, so we must take care of ourselves. And what I'm going to do, since my browser is rebuffering, we can pivot. I remember the gist of the activity. It was a very short activity for us to help foster personal connections and help us get to know one another. So I'm going to ask each of us to take 30 seconds or, to think about it until it's your time to talk. But we're going to go down the line and each person is going to share until Mariah joins us. So it's a very simple question.
Hi, Nikki.
What's
Just letting you know I joined.
Thank you, Mariah. So we were sharing earlier, uh, one thing we enjoyed yesterday, one thing we learned new, and one thing we're looking forward to today. And then we're just doing a short activity now. What is one experience, excuse me, what is one experience, place, or person that first sparked your passion in climate justice? So it was great that you came off of mute and shared, Azania, because we basically already heard from you because you're the daughter of an EJ pioneer. So we would love just to hear really quickly what's one experience, place, or person that first shaped your passion uh, in the EJ movement. And it doesn't have to be a really long answer. You could take 30 seconds if you like. So we're going to go in order. You can put some things in the chat, but I'm going to call on someone who we haven't heard from. We're going to go to Beatrice and then Kevin and then Octavia. And then if everybody else could put theirs in the chat, we'll get started.
Okay, hi everyone. Good morning. Okay, so the first question you asked earlier on, I think yesterday was a very beautiful day for me because there's nothing fantastic and fascinating about learning new things. So I learned about a very new word, super form, which I didn't know before in the breakout room we had. So it was one of the activities that we were trying to work on in my group. So for today, I think the person that sparked my interest about climate justice, although it's not like really, it's more of like environmental justice and social justice, is Archbishop Desmond Tutu that was always fighting for a better cause. Then again, I think in my community, I still say we have this energy injustice. It's also one of those things that I look to, and I'm always like having that eagerness to fight for a better cause or two. say something and just do something as little as I can. So those are the two things that I would like to say. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you so much, Beatrice, for sharing. Who was next? I don't remember if it was Kevin or Octavia.
Yeah, I'll go next. So for me, I would say growing up, it was just my connection with animals. I had a lot of different pets growing up. During the summers, I would help my grandma raise chickens in Mexico. And I think over time, I kind of started realizing the different injustices that existed and didn't lose that connection with animals, but just started caring a lot about the people as well. And so really making sure that we're not just advocating for animals, but realizing the connection that everything has.
Thank you so much, Kevin. And then we'll hear from Octavia, and then we will hear from Mariah today.
Hi, everyone. Good day to you all. Thank you so much, Nicole. I know I put this in the chat, but I do also appreciate you so much for putting this on and for just doing an amazing job at what you do. And honestly, my spark interaction for climate justice specifically came through here with CEEJH and learning about the different spaces in the DMV area. I really think that this fellowship program and all the work that everyone who's on your team does is awe-inspiring in itself. My first overall exposure to environmental racism was when I went to my predominantly white school, Purdue University. I remember just kind of walking down the streets and saying, I've never seen so many white people or so many people that are white passing. And I guess that was my first exposure without really knowing it. But truly, what has given me my spark to continue on in this industry has been CEEJH. So thank you so much, y'all.
Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. I really appreciate all of you. But without further ado, I am going to turn it over to Mariah. I don't see anybody new here really, so we don't have to introduce Mariah again. But I would like for Mariah to really just synthesize the things that we talked about yesterday and set the tone for what we're going to do today with her.
So it's great to be in the space with everybody. I love Nikki's grounding question of what brought you to this work? I definitely want to share my own reflections with that and read some more things from the chat. But first, just wanted to go over part one that we went over yesterday. I know that we really focused yesterday heavily on how does storytelling fit into the environmental justice work, the social justice work that we're doing around the world. How can we think about incorporating narratives into the work, whether it's from a grant writing perspective, it's being on a podcast, it's doing a digital campaign, or even just when we're trying to organize and have direct actions, thinking about what we're going to put on signs that we're posting, or what the messaging is going to be if we have the news come. We really got to talk about get into the heart of stories, griot work, archival work, and just thinking about how that folds into what we're doing. We shared a few different exercises that can potentially just help us to tap into why we got started, which is why it's great Nikki asked this question to get us started today. We went through the Who Are My People exercise, where we spoke 30 seconds about who our people were. I've seen that also expanded to a minute, but we got to do our 30-second kind of pitch on the spot of just describing who our people are. We realized how long 30 seconds can actually be. We talked about the I am from and did collective group work. We talked about some creative questions to ask ourselves, like writing a letter to a tree. Thank you to folks who shared about caring for chickens and different exposures of what their first thing was with the environment. I wanted to give a space just for other folks to share maybe some reflections or some takeaways that they had from yesterday. I just wanted to give that high level overview, and I will be sharing the slide deck with Nikki so that you all can also go in and dive deeper and have these tools to use moving forward. I also think I shared a few different examples, one of which was a children's book by an Aboriginal illustrator and writer that talked about colonization and just historic practices with Native folks in Australia in different ways where we're activating and weaving that work into different mediums, all with storytelling at the center. But yeah, just wanted to see if some folks wanted to come off of mute, share a little bit about some things they took away from our time together yesterday. And then I'll go into what we'll be focused on for part two. But we just pause there and feel free if you'd like to come on camera or come off mute. Um, you can, but just we'll pause just to allow folks to come into the space and share.
Can y'all hear me okay? I had to switch over to a different device.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, yesterday for me and also during the in-person retreat, and I'm sure I will get a lot of this today, I just really appreciated that I had actionable items that I could take home, something that is also rememberable, because we're always talking about making all of our communications and conversations in a place where you're meeting your audience where they are. And I feel like Mariah, Sonia, and Jessica from yesterday, everyone really tried to meet people where they were. And so that was one of my biggest takeaways, because I not only did I get to see it in action, but it was applied to me. And so now I have this toolkit. Thank you for sending the slides in advance that I can use for others. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing, Octavia. Just wanted to allow for other folks to share about a few of their reflections. Maybe we'll hear from two more folks. And I'm glad everything was folding in together. I didn't get to really witness the first part of you all's day yesterday, so I'm glad everything felt like it was coming together for useful steps. I see Stephanie with her hands up, so go ahead, Stephanie.
Yeah, I just like to say a little reflection on yesterday and the time that we had with you. It's like similar to what Nicole was saying about how heavy policy is, and just the world in general and what we're experiencing is so heavy. And to be able to go in the space that you provided, it kind of took you out of that into a different mindset, and me and being able to remember the past, it brought me great joy and happiness. So I like being able to have an experience of where we didn't have to think about the heaviness as much, but just some good positive things. If that makes sense, what I'm trying to say.
It does. Thank you for sharing, Stephanie. And I think that was like a sentiment others had shared in the chat as we were wrapping up yesterday too, that there was some levity and also some, I know sometimes we can get into our head, especially in policy work. We're doing a lot of lifts. We're up against so much right now, and just being able to come into our hearts and also reflect, as you said, Stephanie, and as you alluded to as well, Octavia, on our why. Like, what was the origin story? I don't know if anyone else is into like Marvel comic books or like superhero stuff, but what is the reason why you got involved? I saw Octavia putting a heart. I see Albert putting a heart. But why did you start this work? And a lot of times when you feel like giving up, going back to that why and going back to that heart center and the story you're telling yourself is so important to find some more hope to keep going. Did we maybe want to hear from one other person? Just to share a reflection, how something maybe landed for you, maybe a discussion you had in your breakout group, a way you can see utilizing this activity. Okay, I see Jessica has her hand up. So I'm gonna just pivot over to Jessica. Thank you so much for being willing to share.
Yeah, of course. If there's, I mean, the comments prior to mine were also so fantastic, but I could also say that, like, if there was also something that really tied them all together for me as well, um, was uh, like creativity. And you were mentioning like how heavy everything is now with being in policy work. It can really take its toll on you, and it just feels like there's like this regression, like you're always having to retreat um, in some way, or like retreat from being I don't there. I wouldn't say you have to, but there's kind of like there's pressure to retreat from like who you are, or just like being out there, being the person that you are in like so many different communities now. Like there's just like attacks on so many different communities and people's just like very existence. So to be in a space too that's like the opposite of regression and progression and creativity and thinking outside the box and growth is gosh, it's just like such a breath of fresh air.
Thank you for bringing that into the space. That really hit me in my heart as well. And I saw some other people, like Alma, putting hearts up as well. But yes, there's so much regression, so much attacking of authenticity right now, of uplifting certain types of stories. And so we really want to just focus on, like you said, progression and also just embodiment, valuing the authentic self, valuing community voice, even if other spaces may be devaluing it at the same time. So I'm really happy to hear that that is something that you pulled away from the session. Just wanted to check the chat too, just to see if anybody had added anything here. I know some folks like to write out what they're feeling. I see that one thing that triggered my passion for climate justice is the moment I started questioning my actions towards creatures. I got to realize that I have a pivotal role to play in as much in as far as climate justice is concerned. Amazing. And I see Nikki welcoming folks in. Reverend Barber from the Poor People's Campaign. Love Reverend Barber. Um, I see Jessica, who spoke a bit earlier, saying that she was deeply moved and an empathetic child. She always has just her love has always been there, and she connected with animals, nature. I know that's been a through line. Um, and decided to go vegetarian at 13. Wow. Lived in a rural area and cities, getting to know people from all walks of life and their struggles with their community and their environment and how it shaped us. Um, definitely. Oh, I love that you said this, James. I love that movie too. And looking back, that got me a bit into my EJ work. So I love that it wasn't just me. The movie Aaron Brockovich, which is based on a true story with Julia Roberts, being a supporter, and she was like tracing down, an industry that was basically polluting a community with Pacific oil or gas and electric, excuse me. And yeah, that was also something that I was just like, I didn't know that was EJ work, but it was. I know my social justice work started for me when I was in middle school and high school, and like just started trying to work with planting community gardens and volunteering in my community because there weren't enough resources, especially for Black and Brown areas. And I was in Girl Scouts. Shout out to the other people who may have been in Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts. But yeah, just kind of realized social justice was for me, and that if I wanted to see a change in my community, I had to be a part of leapt up in my voice and like helping to support and create programs. And it sounds like all of you all have certain points in your life that really pushed you forward and propelled you into this work. And even new wise, I feel like sometimes you rediscover your passion for this work or your reason for this work. I do want to just take a moment to just ground us in day two. So just as a reminder of our desired outcomes and just our objectives, I'll go ahead and share my screen because I know some folks are visual so that you can see my slides. And then I have a video that we're going to start with after we review this, but we're still focusing on how does storytelling shape the work? What are our stories that got us here? And I added just what are our stories that are going to keep us going and get us there. How can we assist frontline communities in pushing forward through narrative? And then we also just had our desired outcomes going into part two, really understanding the role of storytelling and environmental justice advocacy. And I'll be seeing you all again next week, where I'll be doing some more case studies around environmental justice storytelling and how advocacy come together. But I really want to hear some examples from you all today. We're going to still have activities, but we're going to have more time for just conversation in general as well. Learning frameworks for constructing compelling narratives, developing and sharing personal or community-based stories. And then lastly, being able to receive feedback to refine storytelling skills. I'm really happy we went past this bullet point because that was a big part of our time together yesterday too. We were checking in with our overall cohort about how the stories were received and really hearing if our messages were understood and being compelled. And I really remember the olive tree. Put a heart up if you remember the olive tree reference in the poem. But the fact that we were talking about the devastation of the actual plant itself, and also the olive branch, and that symbolism and that metaphor there. So I really appreciate everyone who shared where they were coming from, and really weaving that into a further conversation, because a lot of these activities and these stories, they open us up to be able to have deeper conversations about policy, about advocacy, about pushing forward whatever it is that we're advocating for. If I could have a few people come off of mute and just share maybe what their organization's mission or what they're advocating for, where they can see storytelling coming into play, or adding it to the chat as we go into day two. And then I'm gonna play a short video for us and we'll get into an activity. But first, just wanted to hear for some folks, maybe where they can see storytelling coming into the work they're doing now and or how they've used it in the past. I'm gonna go to Nikki. I see Nikki has her hand up, and feel free also, you guys, to put your hand up if you want me to call on the next person, or you can put in the chat. And then I see Miriam after Nicole, and then I see Yotam. So first we'll go to Nikki, then Miriam, then Yotam.
Yeah, I just wanted to get us started. So I don't know. So I really enjoy the storytelling aspect of everything because just like you said, it helps tie so many of our stories together. It helps us find commonalities with one another. And some of you may know or may not know, but I am also an environmental justice consultant, and actually, um, Dr. Wilson hired me to oversee this program. But before him hiring me to do this, one of the things that I've done in my consulting firm is I host several different types of EJ workshops. And one of them is an initiative that I actually created, and we call it Climate Justice, Climate Chronicles Unleashed, and it focuses on storytelling.
Oh,
And
wow.
yes, and we use storytelling to teach youth and individuals in underserved community how to use storytelling as a means for advocacy, right? So it's not just about creating those stories. One of the things that we do, we help, it's more of like a how-to. So we go through some of the fun activities and then we take time to do the how-tos, and we help people to be able to craft their stories like a short elevator pitch. So you have something um, to take tangible while you're gone. And then we talk to people about where they want to share their story. So do they want to advocate, at the local level and talk to their city commissioners or city council members? Do they want to advocate for something larger on a county level? Do they want to advocate for legislation on a more state level? So we talk to them about like their audience and help them craft their messages that way. And then we do some practice rounds to give people opportunity to be able to share their stories and share their pitches and provide feedback to, to say, hey, are we persuaded to help you? Are we persuaded to go on? And then we, do some peer sharing in terms of what we think you can do better to really get your story across. But one of the things that I found that is most common um, is that everybody is hesitant in participating because they think they're not an expert. So I always remind people about those principles of EJ. We are all experts, especially as it becomes as it relates to our lived experiences. So I just want everybody here to remember that as well. Mariah mentioned that, I think you mentioned that yesterday, Mariah, about everybody being an expert, but we are all experts in our own lived experiences, and who better to share your story uh, than you, right? When we all share our own story, I think it's the most authentic, and that's when people take more heed into what it is that we have to say. So I'll stop there and move on.
Thank you so much for that, Nikki. I learned something new, and this is why we connected, because you're doing this work as well. We actually talked about this. I know I mentioned a bit that I had just come from a global convening on climate reparations in New Orleans, and we actually really were focused on Katrina 20 and had a lot of grassroots organizations like Taproot Earth, and other groups that were experiencing Cancer Alley, which was a big parish within New Orleans where there are a lot of industry present that has been polluting the soil, the water, and there have been huge instances of folks experiencing cancer. I say all that to go to Nikki's point, where it was really about uplifting unheard voices and letting the community know they can save themselves, and they can be louder than industry, and they can share their own stories of like how they've seen the community, the crop yield and different things changing in the community. They've seen people getting sick, and they were experts in their own lived experience. And a lot of folks started advocating, whether it was digitally on YouTube, but also just doing walkouts and march outs and letting people know why they should care about this issue. And sometimes you just break it down to, do you remember Katrina when FEMA didn't come out to help? Do you remember these different elements? So whatever brings people to the space. I'll move on to let Miriam share, and then if the person who had their hand up as well, they could just go after Miriam. I think they may have put their hand down, so I didn't get to capture the name. But go ahead, Miriam. Just wanted to give you space to share. Oh, and I see Alma also raised her hand as well. So I'll turn it over to Miriam.
Yeah, hello. In fact, I am coming from healthcare profession background, and as a mother or as a daughter, I used to have some lessons for life through stories from my aunt, from my mother, from my father, and from we are living in extended family. And then I transferred this to my children. I used to tell them the importance of values and morals through stories, or how to lead a life. And it was of success. I transferred this also to my students, healthcare students, by telling, this patient went through this and this and this, and how we dealt with it in a story form. And it was sticking more than what was outlined by the books. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing and speaking about that griot work, and that is ancestral, and multi-generational, and can be a tool, like you said, that brings the lessons to life. And people can always relate to a story, a lot more than sometimes the textbook. So thanks for telling how you've used it in your familial spaces, but also in your healthcare professional spaces. I'll mute myself again so Alma can share.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Mariah. Um, well, in my case, it's funny because, since I was a kid, I guess as everyone, I was surrendered by storytelling. My parents used to read me, and I try to do that with my nephews as well. But I never thought the really useful way that I could do it in my profession. I'm a lawyer. And when I started in the beginning of my career, I think I have shared this with the fellows. When I started in the beginning on my career to work with communities, I found myself in a barrier because of the professional language that I had, which was the one that I was being taught at school, at the university. It was not useful when I was working with the communities because they work different language. They work more, the language of the nature, of life, of land. And I work mostly on environmental justice and land property rights. And then I started to do my graduate school, PhD, and then it's more academic. So I found it as I started to be, I wanted to be like a translator to bridge, like both worlds, because it's where I see myself. But now that I found, I recently, like a couple of years ago, discovered the storytelling. Sorry, I didn't put off my camera. The storytelling part, and I was really blown about how useful could be exactly for the objective that I was trying to do. Because it's a very good language, if you can say it like that, to preach, to put, because when I come to the academic world and when I see what the communities are doing in the ground, I'm just thinking, and people are doing in the ground, I just thinking everything that these, academic people tell us that is about the future of property and land rights, etc., is what is these people is doing already. So for me, I'm finding, and I really want to learn more about how this could be a tool to bring the voices of the community louder, so people can hear and see how they are already things that can be the solution for the future.
Thank you so much, Alma. You said so much beautiful things, and I am gonna add some stuff into the chat because I used to work for an organization called Global Health Advocacy Incubator, but they have some case studies on their site where they are a team of like lawyers that work on like road safety globally, food justice, and sometimes land. And they kind of like do a little bit of storytelling with how they're organizing, local government or using grants or different things to help support local NGOs. But it may be interesting to you. So I'll definitely share that as an example. And I'm excited for next week to have more like tangible examples to share as well. I saw in the
Thank you.
chat.
Yes. Thank
Yes.
Mhm.
And I appreciated what you were saying about the translation because a lot of times we are speaking different languages, sometimes physically. I've definitely had storytelling where I've had to translate like Quechua to Spanish, Spanish to English, but also sometimes we're just talking through different disciplines. Like you're doing legalese in one space, but you're also representing community and you can't use the same terms when speaking to them. Someone in the chat was speaking about how they work in the literary space. So maybe the ways that you're going to talk to the publisher aren't the same way you're going to talk to the reader. The way that you're going to talk to certain age groups and elders that you're organizing are going to be different than if you're talking to youth and talking to them about climate justice. So I really appreciated you talking about being that physical bridge And I feel like storytelling is one of those tools and vehicles that can help you to be a bridge. So I'm going to play this brief video for us to watch about storytelling. And then we're actually going to do 2 to 3 activities together today. One of the activities, just to let people know in case they need to get something ready at home, we're going to be doing the haiku. So you'll be able to have a haiku like Nikki has shared with you all. And we may do that one collectively because I really liked that we did it as a whole group. Like with the first group, Nikki in person. And then for activity 2, you'll need a piece of paper and a pen. So if you do need to go ahead and grab any type of sheet of paper, it's just something we can fold into 4 parts for the next activity. But first, I'll show this brief video that's just kind of going over a bit more of storytelling. So I know y'all are like, we've heard Mariah talk about it, but I want you to hear from other folks that are also in this storytelling space and how they approach stories. So let me go ahead and get this ready for us. All right. All right, and I'll share my screen again. And thank you to everybody who's sharing. And just like in the space, even if you're not sharing with us today right now, maybe you're just still thinking over and receiving what everyone else is saying. Hopefully I can play this. I believe in it. Okay, here we go. And I'm sure a lot of us have heard of TEDx before. So just wanted to test the sound really quickly. Let me know with a thumbs up, or Nikki, if you can come off mute and let me know if you can hear it.
Have you ever wondered how much ice cream you can get for
All
a dollar?
good.
Or what's the
All good? Okay, perfect. All right.
It might be me, but now I cannot hear.
Yeah, we can't hear it now, Mariah.
I was on mute.
storytelling framework? Great stories should be told in less.
Okay. Are you guys good now with being able to hear that are easy to count for syllables that I like to use? So I'll use the word hello, for example. You can clap hello, and that would be a 2-syllable word. If I wanted to say it in Spanish, hola, it would still be like a 2-syllable word, but definitely check it if you decide to use different languages. Another way to check syllables is like just putting your hand under your chin if for whatever reason clapping doesn't feel good for you. And I'll just do it for the word beyond. Beyond. However many times your chin touches your hand, that's the number of syllables. So that's 2. So we're counting syllables because haikus have one rule. The first line is 5 syllables. The second line is 7 syllables. And then the final line is 5 syllables. So I will share a visual just so that we can all see from the slide just exactly how many syllables to put, but we'll all be doing our own haikus. When you think about the questions that we were asking ourselves at the end of yesterday, like what's your earliest memory of being in nature? How is your race, culture, community shaping your experience with the environment? What's your why? These all can be prompts for the haiku, but I don't want to limit it. It can be about anything related to what you were feeling inspired by writing about today. We do want to try to focus it on our climate justice work, but you can really focus on any of the questions that we shared. Again, I just want to show an example of it. It's 5, 7, and then 5. This can be used for visioning, reflections. An interesting way I've been able to use this, like I said, is with the youth workshops, but I've also seen a council meeting where we opened it up with a haiku about what we're fighting for in the school systems. I've also used this with an organization where we were thinking about our 10-year vision and mission, and we created haikus as a workshop to get us started on like a longer discussion. So I want to read an example of a haiku, just so you guys have an example from me. I think we talked about how passionate I am about haikus earlier. So definitely want to give a quick example or two, and I will add some in the chat because I know some folks are more visual. So this is a quick one that I'll share. When I die, bury my bones in a garden, feed Black families. That's an example of a haiku. You can give snaps or heart. I'll say it one more time. When I die, bury my bones in a garden, feed Black families. And what I'll do while we're breaking out into our groups is also find some haikus from the last time I did this workshop with youth and share just a few of what they came up with as well, just so you can see some examples. I think Nikki shared a haiku that we actually made for CEEJH together. So if we want to practice by doing the first one together, we can, and then we'll break out to all do our own. You can choose to do this in a group. What do you think, Nikki? Doing our breakouts or everyone doing it individually?
I would love to do it together and then maybe have everybody do it individually so they'll have something to take with them.
Okay, let's do the first one together because I really enjoyed doing that too last time. So again, it's the 5 syllables, 7 syllables, then 5. So I just want us to get some ideas for the first line. It can be as many words as we'd like. It just needs to be 5 syllables total. So can I get some ideas for like a word to start with? And this will be one that we all do together before we do it individually, just to get some practice in. You can just come off of mute and share. And you can also
Okay.
share in the chat. Did
Would
you
it
have?
be helpful if you guys had a theme? Maybe let's use the this year's symposium agenda as the theme, which is
Okay.
it's called, I'm sorry, the symposium theme, it's called The People's Agenda, uh Resilience, Resistance, Resilience, and Restoration.
I
So
love the
think about what that means to you.
resistance, resilience, restoration. Let me just check the chat to see if anyone's sharing. And if it's easiest, I know it can be overwhelming to think of a whole haiku. Let's just start with a word. Can somebody give me a word that comes to mind? Any word, and we can build around that. I can definitely call on folks, but I'll give it. Oh, I see Miriam came off mute, so maybe Miriam has a word for it.
Yes. Roots.
Roots. Love that. Okay. I also see hope in the chat. Possible. Okay. So let's start to put some of this together. So first, let's start with roots. I'll just go through the process. So when you're making yours, you know what to do. Roots. So roots has 1 syllable. Hope also has 1 syllable. Possible. Okay, y'all might be a little bit of experts at this. This is okay. Possible hope. Possible hope roots. Possible hope or hope roots possible. Which one are y'all feeling? I saw you came off mute, Nikki.
Possible. Oh, I was just, oh, sorry. I was thinking out loud, didn't realize I came off mute. I think roots should go first because it's the foundation. I think it's the foundation. I think I like roots first.
Roots, hope, possible. Roots, possible, hope. Okay.
I think I like, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think I like roots, hope, possible.
Okay. And thank you so much for Nicole also sharing that we could use like the singular of that word. So roots or root are the same, but sometimes when you're making your own haikus, a big way when you're not sure how to change it is you can make something plural, you could add ing, and things like that sometimes will give you that extra syllable or just may make more sense. So definitely remember to play with that. Okay, roots hope possible. Then our next line needs to be 7 syllables. Let's see, a word for our next line. Hopefully someone that we haven't spoken to before. You can add it in the chat or you can say it out loud. Land. Okay, thank you, Miriam. So land.
Imagine.
Oh,
Okay, we have some good ones here.
yes, I love so. Thank you, Albert. That's I feel like not used as much and such a powerful word. So we have so, belong, breathe deep. Let's see how we can put these together. Nature. Also, feel free to come off mute or add to this. I'm helping just to put it together, but it was definitely a collaborative effort. So I'm just putting it back in my chat just so I can see it visually. It helps me a lot with being able to see it visually. Roots hope possible. Sow the land. Sow the land. Breathe deep. Belong. Oh, we're poets now. We're really doing it. Sow the land. Deep. Okay. So roots hope possible, sow the land, breathe deep, belong. Remember, you can add a period, you can add a comma, you can add a semicolon. Thank you for the love, Alma. Okay, and then we're going to do the last line, which is going to be 5 syllables. So the last line, I'm going back to our words because I know we didn't use everything. We didn't use free birds. Is there any other ideas we have for this last one? I always like to reread as I'm going to make sure it all comes together with what I'm trying to say. Roots hope possible. Sow the land, breathe deep, belong. And then we need our last line. Free birds would be 2 syllables if we keep that. Promide. Ooh, okay. Y'all are giving thesaurus. I love this. Oh, promise. Okay. I was about to say, I was about to look up this word because I was like, I haven't heard this one before, but I have a little word of the day that I get sent through email. So I thought you were teaching us a new word. I love promise. Um, build together or togetherness. Thank you, Jessica. Okay. Roots hope possible. Sow the land, breathe deep, belong. Build together. Promise, build together. Promise to build to get too long. Togetherness. Build togetherness. How do you all feel about that? Roots, hope, possible. Sow the land, breathe deep, belong. Build togetherness. Build togetherness. Can I get some thumbs up if you're feeling it? Yeah, I'm seeing some thumbs up. All right. So this is our haiku we came up with together. Definitely get some snaps. Oh, I love it. Thank you, Nikki. So yeah, 5, 7, and then 5. And I will add in the chat just some examples of some youth poets and some things that they've come up with. And I'm so proud of what we came up with together. I am looking at the time and I want to make sure we get to do our next exercises together. So what I'm going to do is just have everybody not be the homework, but maybe y'all can have another time where you share your haikus that you've done individually, and that can be something we continue to work on. But right now, I want to make sure everybody can bring out a sheet of paper that they have. I need to actually grab one for myself so I can show y'all what to do. But yes, if everyone could bring out their sheet of paper that they'll be using for the next exercise. And I just want to show my slides just to give an example of what that next exercise will be. And thank you for everybody participating in the collective visioning and haiku. So this one is called Out of the Box. And I really like to use this for EJ storytelling. It really works for all ages. I'll give you my example poem after I show you what we're going to be doing. But in box one, we'll be writing things that are personal identities for us. In box two, we'll be writing things that we're advocating for. In box three, it will be things about our daily routine. And in box four, we'll be putting it all together. I know it seems a little bit like, what are they talking about? But it's going to come together, I promise you. So the first thing you're going to do is take your paper. I know I just have a small paper here, but you're going to fold it into 4 parts. So first you could fold it long ways just to get us started. Make sure they're pretty distinct lines that you can see. And then you fold it again like a hamburger. And then once you open up the paper, you'll have 4 different corners of your page. Thank you. I see folks are folding their paper. Yep, exactly. And then you're just going to take your pen or pencil, whatever you're writing with, and write 1, 2, 3, and 4 into each of the boxes. 1, 2, 3, and 4 into each of the boxes. And then once we're finished with that, feel free to look back up at the camera or just put a thumbs up. I'll give maybe a second for folks to finish that up. Okay, thank you for the thumbs up. Okay, so for the first box, so you're going into the box that has a 1, you're going to be writing just as many things as you can come up with when I start my timer that relate to personal identity. Let me go ahead and pull my timer up. And just to give you an example of personal identity, it's going to be 1 minute. We can list as many things as we want. You could write feminist. You could write woman. You could write disabled. You could write immigrant. You could write Brazilian. You could write just different things related to who you are, farmer, organizer, just different things related to who you are personally. You could write Black, all different things about who you are. So I'm going to go ahead and start this timer for the 1 minute. All right, and it just started. So remember, box 1, you're listing all different personal identities that you hold. Mother, sister, natural disaster for survivor. I know some folks said they were writers, educators, lawyer. Maybe you write Hindu. Maybe you write that you're Southern. Maybe you're writing that you're a city girl. Maybe you're an elder, grandmother, all different things. And we've got about 10 seconds left. You're just listing as many things as you can list in box number 1. Thank you for everybody sharing. And we've got 5, 4, 3, wrap up what you're thinking, 2, and 1. If you can finish that last thing that you wrote down, we're about to move on to box 2. Just give me a thumbs up when you're ready to move on. All right, I'm seeing some thumbs up. I'm not sure if Miriam, I saw your hand go up. Maybe you were just meaning to do a thumbs up, but I do
Yes.
pause. Okay. If anyone had questions, please feel free to come off mute. Ask me if you have any questions. Once we get all the boxes filled out, I'm going to give you the example and let you know what we're going to be doing. But please, if you have any questions throughout, you can always come off mute and ask. For number 2, for box 2, it's the same thing. I'm gonna have a little timer going for 1 minute again, but let me explain what you'll be writing in box 2. So just again with listing, so forget about box 1. Box 2, you'll just be listing things that you're advocating for. So maybe it can be for feminism. Maybe it can be for free lunches in schools. Maybe it can be for decarbonization. Maybe it can be for clean energy. Maybe it can be for health equity. You could be talking about land back. There's so many different things you could be advocating for, but you're just listing things you're advocating for. Maybe it's free education. Maybe it's Black liberation. Maybe it's LGBTQ rights, whatever it is that you're advocating for. So I'm going to start the timer now. And again, just list as many things. There's no number or quota you need to meet, but as many things as come to mind as things that you're advocating for. It can be what you're doing for your organization, but also maybe just something you're passionate about yourself. Maybe Indigenous rights. Maybe you're advocating for arts in schools. It can be things related directly to this work, and maybe indirectly to your community you're a part of. What are you advocating for? Yep, and we've got about 10 seconds, so I'll just count it down so folks can wrap up. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, just wrapping up. 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Get a thumbs up if you're ready to move on to box 3. This will be our last part of the exercise before we get into our own writing. All right. Thank you so much, Kevin, Alma. Thank you so much for putting your thumbs up and staying with me. Okay, so for box 3, you're forgetting about box 1 or 2. You don't know them. You're focused on box 3 now. So we're still going to just take a minute. This is anything related to your daily routine. It can be something that you did today. If maybe you didn't do much before you got on this call today, it could be something you usually do in your day to day. So an example is brushing your teeth, combing your hair, feeding your pet, walking around your neighborhood, biking. If you're like me and you're a biking enthusiast, maybe you bike to the office. Just anything around your day, making your breakfast, waking up your kids, caring for your mom, whatever it is that you're doing. I'm going to start the timer. But anything related to your daily routine. Maybe you're reading the paper. Maybe you're watching the news. Drinking some water, whatever it is that's a part of your daily routine, putting on your glasses. Nothing's too mundane. Maybe you pray, maybe you do some yoga, maybe you work out, maybe you water your plants. And same thing, we have 10 seconds left. So I'm going to count us down. Just add whatever last few things are coming to your mind. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. If I can get a thumbs up from everybody who's finished up. Thank you for everybody staying with me. I'm seeing some thumbs up. Love it. Thank you, Sherelle. Thank you to everybody putting their thumbs up. There we go. We're back where we're supposed to be. So right now, I'm going to ask that everybody circles one thing from their personal box, box one thing from the advocacy box, and one thing from the daily routine box. So you're just selecting one thing from each box, just something that's sticking out to you. There's no right answer with it. I've had some people choose like, oh, I'm just going to pick the fourth thing on each of my lists. I've had other people that want to be more intentional, like, Black was sticking out the most for me. Then I wanted to pick social justice for advocacy, and for daily routine, they chose brushing their teeth just because they wanted to.
I'll share to get us started. You guys are
So
shy today.
they're still waking up. That's what my theory
I
is.
know, I know.
Or depending on time zone, maybe they're winding down.
Yeah, so I'll share. Oh, you know what? Sorry. I'll press pause on the recording because you did ask for personal things, so maybe folks are shy about sharing with the recording. I'll give me a second to pause it.
Sure. And I can also so for what we've just done for this exercise out of the box, we're actually going to be using this to be our writing prompt. I know some of the things that sometimes it's like, what do I write about? How do I craft a story? Really, as the example we showed on the video, we start from our personal, our advocacy, and then you can choose something that everyone can relate to from a daily routine. So in box 4, we all have 3 things or 3 words that have come together. There's different things that people chose. I'll give my example. I chose Black from personal. I chose Black liberation and social justice for what I'm advocating for. And then for daily routine, I chose clapping. And so I'm actually going to share an example of the poem that I came up with from doing this exercise. And then we're all going to break out amongst ourselves. And for about 15 minutes, just write about whatever our prompt is in box 4. And then we'll come back and those who feel comfortable can share a bit. But let me go ahead and get into my piece. I definitely ask that if folks can come off mute, my piece has a bit of clapping involved. Nikki knows a little bit about this piece from when I worked with the other group, but just a slow clap, if folks could clap with me, whether you're on or off mute, I appreciate you and your energy in the room. Grandma's hand clapped in church on Sunday morning. Grandma's hands played the tambourine so well. Grandma's hands used to issue me a warning. She'd say, baby, know your Blackness well. My grandmother's name was Natalie Lindsay. She once marched on Washington to hear a king's speech with my mother in her belly, but that's not why she's revolutionary to me. My grandmother's been collecting Black dolls for upwards of 45 years. Once, when trying to acquire a Black Santa Claus, the sales clerk told her it'd be $100 more for the Black one. My grandmother looked down at her hands, said, if it's money and this melanin, then the state of Virginia owes me thousands of dollars for the mismatch pay the white nurses have received to this day. It's a lore in my family about how my grandmother carried out the Black Santa Claus and she didn't have to pay more for it. She used to tell me it's magic in this melanin, power in this pigment, that she collected things in my hue so that I would know I was still worth idolizing, even when Hasbro didn't make Black and brown dolls. My grandmother used to carry Black and brown Sharpies in her back pocket. Said she was going to color things in the places they left us out of, said we were permanent. We were here on purpose. We were power. We were people that would not erase ourselves just because of those in power. She used to educate me on how they would sell us on slave auction blocks, but weren't willing us to sell us in boxes and stores because they didn't want their white children to play with things that looked like us. Meanwhile, they were playing with our lives every day. My grandmother would put her wrinkled hands together to pray or cook and mix up magic in her cauldron. Remember how she would make something out of nothing, how she made life out of brokenness, how she integrated all of the nurses in her ward. My grandmother was power, y'all. And one day she passed and she left me with hands of my own. Sometimes I look in the palms and think about how the lifelines are connecting me to the past, to her stories, to her songs. And I think about my great grandmother, how she used to say, some people do, some people never do, some people overdo. How do you do? And I think I'm doing things to change the world. What about you? Sometimes I still put my hands together to clap or pray and sing a song when I look up at these heirlooms and all these Black dolls and say, Grandma's hands clapped in church on Sunday morning. Grandma's hands played the tambourine so well. My grandma's hands used to issue me a warning. She'd say, baby, know your blackness well. And thanks to her, I do. All right, that was my poem, y'all. I appreciate y'all holding space. Thank you for the snaps. Definitely let me know if there were things you noticed about the poem, about the story. For me, just a bit of background. Um, that was a piece I wrote about my maternal grandmother, who was very much an activist and organizer, um, and really taught me the power of uplifting my voice and fighting for social justice and for change. And so again, the prompt for that one ended up being clapping. That happened to be like a Sunday. I think I was like worshiping, and I just love clapping my hands, snapping, if y'all can't tell. And Black liberation, which is something I'm always fighting for. And then I also, in social justice in general, and then being Black is an identity that I had chose. So we're all going to take some time, 15 minutes. I'm going to set my timer and just have some time to write. And again, you made your own prompt. These are things you're already passionate about, parts of your story that are already there. And you're just weaving it together, just like the video showed us, where maybe there's a problem and you're moving through to a solution. Maybe there's a beginning, a middle, and end. There's no rules to this. You can add some music to it if you'd like to, in the way that I did. Maybe a lyric from a song or a quote or something you've said, a scripture, just whatever you'd like to blend into the work that you're doing. But we're going to go ahead and take our 15 minutes. I did start the timer and just go into writing. Remember, if you get stuck, you can always go to box 4, and that's your prompt right there. Thank you so much, Nikki, for putting our timer on.
Thank you so much, Mariah, for being here. For our fellows who will be watching the recording later, just know that we're finishing up our activity and Mariah has finished her time with us. We do encourage you to sign up for next week's session on August 22nd. And Mariah will be back with us to share case studies, and some of us will share the activities that we share about the activities that we worked on today. But right now, we are going to actually take a 15-minute break, give everybody a chance to do some self-care. Please come back to us at 12:30 sharp Eastern Daylight Time. So be sure to set your timers. I'll set a timer as well. So when you hear the Star Warsy music going off, you know to come back, because we will have our next presenter. And our next presenter, she's on the call with us right now. Her name is Samiha Hoque, and she is one of our senior climate justice fellows. You guys are in for a treat with Samiha as well, as she takes us and guides us through how social media and literature can impact um, our storytelling. And I think, Mariah, you're welcome to stay with us, but I know your time is up, but you're welcome to stay with us through the rest of the day. And you were actually, I think you were still there when Samiha did her activity at the in-person's retreat, but you're welcome to stay. So we're going to come back at exactly 12:30, and I'll set the timer for everybody. Thanks, Mariah. All right, welcome back, everyone. Come on in and get yourselves situated. We have 1 minute before I introduce our next presenter. So if I could just get a thumbs up when everybody is back. Thank you, Yotim. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. So, welcome back. I hope your break was great and that you've taken care of all of your self-care needs. So, right now, we are going to dive into our second workshop for the retreat today. The first of our afternoon workshop is going to be led by Senior Climate Justice Fellow Samiha Hoque. Samiha is an editor and environmentalist based in Brooklyn, New York, with an interest in media, both online and print. She was a previous Climate Justice Fellow and has created social media content for food sovereignty and is hoping to launch her inaugural anthology to promote environmental issues and justice in literature next year. She is also the publishing director of Shahrazad Shelves, an independent press amplifying underrepresented voices through culturally resonant storytelling. A graduate of Brooklyn College with a BA in Earth and Environmental Sciences, Samiha combines her science training with a deep commitment to environmental justice, food sovereignty, and cultural resilience. She has led initiatives in publishing, community education, excuse me, climate storytelling, and always centering equity and accessibility in her work. Samiha's work lies at the intersection of science communication, advocacy, and the preservation of marginalized narratives. Please help me welcome Samiha.
Hi, thank you for that wonderful introduction, Nikki. Um, a lot of you guys already know who I am, and I'm so happy to be here. And let me see if I can share my screen for um, this today's activity. Okay, so is everyone seeing my screen?
Yes, all good. Thanks, Mia.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so let's start. So today we're going to focus on the intersection of social media and environmental justice, specifically on how aesthetics play a role in the dissemination and propagation of information. And a question you might just ask, just by hearing this, is why do aesthetics even play a role at all? And we have to remember that with so many social media posts and graphics on our timelines on the internet, we need to understand how to capture people's attention properly to share information about environmental justice effectively. I think Mariah shared that video about 60 seconds you only have to tell a story. So that's kind of what we have to deal with when it comes to social media. And not only that, for example, if you imagine a teacher is yelling at a student, is that an effective method to teach that student any topic at all? No, right? And similarly, the tone of your social media post, which is visual in nature, can work for or against you. And so with that, all of that said, let's go into our activity. We'll be looking at 6 social media posts and judging them. So here's the first one. This is from the official Instagram of the United States Environmental Protection Agency, and they created this post. If you were scrolling on your phone or, computer, whatever it is, would you stop to read this? Yes? No? Is there anything you like or don't like about it? So you can either comment in the chat or maybe raise your hand. I'll give you a couple of 30 seconds maybe to look at it. What's good about this post? Does it capture your attention? Would you stop to read what it says? Would you just scroll by? Let me know. Actually, I can't chat. I'm not sure if anyone said anything. I kind of can't see. Okay. Oh, so Alma's saying you would scroll by because it's too much words. Okay. Yeah. Anyone else? It's fine. So I would say that this post is somewhat easy to read, but there is a lot of text, and they clearly they made an attempt to try to make that text stand out because it's an image background, but the text occupies all the space is a little bit too much, like Alma said, and it's challenging to focus on what exactly is being kind of shared, which is the cleanup of the Delaware River. And you kind of it gets lost in it. Yeah, and your time is saying make it shorter. Yeah. So that's okay. Here's the next one. So this is also by the EPA. How does this one look? Is it better? Is it, would you stop to read this one? What are your thoughts on this? Because I know what a lot of us were saying to make it yeah, yeah. So Cheryl was saying this one is much clearer than the other one. And then Octavia saying that she likes that the technical terms are highlighted. And yes, both of these are great points, and this post did a much better job. The text is clearer, it's shorter, and there's a highlight that focuses on the positive impact, which is the reduction of ethylene oxide. I think the only downside to this social media post is you don't know exactly what is ethylene oxide, what does reducing it look like. You really wouldn't know from this post alone that ethylene oxide results in like a respiratory irritation, lung injury, headache, nausea, and chronic exposure has been associated with cancers, reproductive effects, and mutagenic changes. Um, and so you wouldn't really know that this chemical is also found in like everything. It's found in dried vegetables. It's found in medical equipment, dental equipment. It's found in detergents. I think some paints have it. So you would not know from this post alone that the EPA is putting a law on like this product that was just found everywhere. And so I would say that it's effective and clear and quick, but it also kind of doesn't quite share the information, the impact that reducing this exposure has. You kind of don't see that in this post. So some of it, I would say some of its impact is a little bit lost, but otherwise it is a really good post. Here's another one. What's good or bad about this one? So this one was created by and sponsored by the City of Newark, New Jersey, Office of Sustainability. So did they do a good job? Would you stop by to read this if you were scrolling? Oh, and Azania had mentioned in the previous one, some visual people might need an image. Yeah, that one was pretty simple, the previous one. So for this one, what do you guys think?
I like the colors in this one, but again, it's a whole lot of words to try for someone to read. I don't know, like if this was on a reel, maybe 60 seconds, you might have to keep going back to it or holding it just to make sure you can read everything on it.
Yes, exactly. This one is pretty text heavy. Um, oh, so okay, Zania's mentioning how there's no relevant picture, right? This is about food access, right? And there's not you don't see that on the image that they've used. And then Stephanie saying it's too much, it's too small, the text is too small and it's a lot to read. And you guys every single one of you guys made a perfect point, is that it's text heavy, the font's too small, the colors kind of don't quite contrast. So you might have to hold on to it, like Nikki said, to read it properly. And so most people are going to scroll past this one, and it's really detrimental if that is the case, because this post is inviting New Jersey residents to discuss environmental justice, food access, right, with the local officials at the Office of Sustainability, and it's even open to residents who speak Spanish and Portuguese, and all of this is lost in this presentation, unfortunately. So this is an example. Okay, yeah, and the effects of people who are colorblind. That's also a great thing to think about when you make these the color when you choose the color contrasts and schemes for this. It's definitely to keep people who are colorblind in mind. And so I would say this is like the most perfect example of how environmental justice execution wise it didn't do that much of a great job. Also, there's a QR code, which is funny, because QR codes are not for you, because you're on your phone, you're supposed to use your phone to use a QR code. So there's an that in itself is also kind of crowding the space and making it a little bit difficult to read through. So let's look at this one. So Second Nature and Commons partnered to create this post, quoting an article on how climate crises exacerbate gender inequality. Is this social media post better when it comes to heavy text and basically, comparing it to the previous one, which also had a lot of text? What do you guys think of this one?
Well, first, quick question. Did you highlight those words or the words highlighted as part of the post?
It's part of the post.
So I think while it's a lot of words, I think it's better because it's highlighting things that they want us to focus on. And I like the picture in the back.
Yeah, there's a nice dramatic picture in the back. We're seeing some really great phrases that are being highlighted, right? There's threat multiplier, intimate partner violence spikes, sexual exploitation and trafficking. These are really good points that Commons and Second Nature want us to focus on. And if you were scrolling by, you might actually, say, oh wait, I'm seeing these really important topics. I might stop to read the rest of the text, which is of course what they want you to do. And I think it's really important because this one has a lot of research and facts behind it. And it's a really great post if you had something that was text heavy, using the highlights, using a good bright picture in the back, and the colors work really well. Oh, and Zania saying that she would have recommended highlighting the first sentence in the second paragraph. Yes, definitely. Women and girls already grapple with gender inequality. Yes, I would agree. That is a very good post sentence to have highlighted as a part of this. So I think this is definitely a much better post than the previous one. And it could use some, as Zania mentioned, you can wherever part you want to highlight, depending on your mission, depending on the goal of your organization, different things can be highlighted. So how about this one? This post was created last year, I believe, where climate activists in California were able to protect SB 1137, a law that prohibits oil rigs and other fossil fuel companies from being located too close to schools and residences. Does this post convey that victory? Is it a good post? Yeah, so Alma's saying she really likes it. And you think it does convey the victory, it does convey a lot. Miriam saying yes. Your time as well. So yes, I agree with every one of you guys. This one is a really good post, right? You're seeing the large font, the contrasting colors. We're seeing the highlight for we won, right? Also seeing people, right? And I think that's one of the most important things, because environmental justice is about people, because we're caring about not just the nature, but people and people's livelihoods. So I think this post is really perfect in encompassing a victory. It's about encompassing who matters the most when it comes to environmental justice. And overall, I believe this post did a really good job. And then the last one is this one. So how does this one look? Does it do a good job? Does it convey what you believe its topic is? Is there any things that don't work well? Anything that does work well? Okay, so what I'm saying it's attractive, yeah. The colors are nice, right? The greens and the purple. There's also a bit of a standout on the text. Stephanie's saying she likes this one, but the white font should be dark. I agree. And Octavia saying she doesn't think they need that longer paragraph at the bottom. Yeah, so those are some good suggestions. If they wanted to keep the paragraph, it would need to be possibly a different color so that it could stand out. Otherwise, that paragraph can be a caption, like Octavia said. Yeah, so those are good suggestions. Right, it's a decent post, but it could be worked on. Yeah, for sure. Too much white text. Yeah. And I think everyone here is good. Nicole saying generate text for posting things on social media. I think naturally younger than person.
This is
Right.
about the previous post, Samir.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So this one, right?
Yeah, that one.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, definitely generation of the vibe probably. So yeah, just seeing depending on depending on who your audience is, it's always good to know who your audience, who you want your ideal person to be looking at your social media. If it's for older people, definitely think about how they react. And if it's for younger people, we definitely like it more simpler. So that's something to keep in mind is your audience. And then of course this one we went over that it's good. The colors are nice, but of course um, there are some suggestions we can make to make it better. And so now just an overall point of view. So some tips to make a good social media post is one is to summarize. Less text is better because of course it's time constraint. Utilize highlights if you have a lot of text to share, but also don't overdo the highlights because then it kind of diminishes the impact of what the highlight is trying to say. Also use contrasting colors, make it easy and bright to see. We mentioned this before about the previous post. The white kind of didn't contrast as much as it should have on the purple background. Choose easy to read fonts and a large font size if possible, because again, people are using on their phones. It could be small when they're scrolling by. And then ask yourself, if you were scrolling social media, would you stop to look at this post? So always when when you've created a social media post, just say, hey, is this something I would, look at or not, right? And that's a good indication of whether or not it's good to go. Um, so there's some good um, tips to making a good social media post. Of course, a good social media post sometimes might not get far, but that's of course based on your audience and timing. There's a lot of things that goes into social media. So like time zones, of course, and all of that. But overall, these are the best I would recommend as someone who makes social media posts who has made social media posts for organizations. Visual is key. And it's the most important things to focus on when you make those social media posts, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, or Reels or videos. So our next thing is our second part of our activity. It's a breakout session about watching this specific video. And then what that invokes in you to write at least 1 to 2 sentences. I will put that in the chat. I'm trying to see if I can. Let's see. The video is based on National Geographic's of the land. Hopefully I can share. I'm gonna share about 2 minutes of this video. It's based on the Native Alaskans. and their tribe. Let me see if I can share my screen. And I want everyone to like really focus on this one, and then afterwards we're gonna I have a Google document that we can all the groups can work together. I hope people can hear it. Let me know if you guys can't.
Samiha, when you share your screen,
Yeah.
if you like, so you close out and then you go to reshare on the right-hand side of the Zoom window, there's a button there that says make sure you share sound. So you have to make sure that's selected.
Okay. Oh, share sound. I see it. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Let's see. Everyone is seeing my screen, hopefully. We're gonna do about 2 minutes of this video. Hopefully everyone can hear.
I'm gonna go on an adventure
Let's get some captioning.
to Alga Bay and set the king crab pot on this beautiful day. Calm before the storm. I'm Marvin Agnott from the village of Hoque. I grew up here pretty much all my life, which is a little over half a century. A lutic is what I am. Today, we're on a mission to go and get some food for the winter. But it's very windy, and we got a storm coming, and we got to work pretty quick. We got to go miles away just to hope we could get king crab because overfishing. That alone really hurt us because our way of living is on the water. Hoque is very unique because of its remoteness. We are limited to our resources because of accessibility. You gotta work harder to get more to make ends meet. But regardless, we make it work out here. Rain, snow, wind, we'll go out and get our seafood. When the tide is low, the table is set. It roars through here very fast when the tide comes through. I have to get the pot dropped before the storm coming. The weather changes so quick, and it's an hour skip ride one way, and within that hour, it can be blowing 50 miles an hour. It becomes disastrous for us. When we do get it, it is worth the effort that we put into it. We are way out in the middle of no man's land. As we found out over years that it's a lot easier to get crab up in this area than it is out in the lower bay because of how big and vast it is. It is very dangerous because this bay freezes up in the winter. It's just a matter of when it'll happen. We had to pull this up before the freeze. All right, well, I beat the storm that's coming in here, and I got them set in my crab pot. I'm a man of the sea here. I love it here. Cool like that.
Okay, so from that video, I kind of want us, and I'll put it in the chat. So that was a sample from National Geographic's full like episode series about Native Alaskans. I'm gonna see if I can share this link. In the chat. Because I want us to kind of put some reflection on that, and how would you and explain like how you would put that in a social media post. What are things that you take from if you were tasked to share the information of this episode from this Native Alaskan lifestyle that we just saw, how would you put that in the social media post? So I'm not sure if we can do break into 3 groups, and then have everyone on the Google, in the chat, I put in a Google Drive for everyone, to put down, how they would, or just anything that they would take from that video, for if and to make a social media graphic out of that. Like, what are those texts that you would use? What are some things that you might specifically highlight? Would you use images straight from the video? Would you opt for a solid color background? Would you opt for a gradient like we've seen in the previous examples, right? So whatever your thoughts are based on the video that we saw, how would you make a social media post to convey the information, right?
Samiha, if I can interject, didn't you have those prompts on a slide? If you could put that slide back up, or share those ideas, those things in the chat so people can have them as prompts, that would be great. And then also, I wanted to remind everybody the link that Samiha put in the chat, you can use that to share your ideas in your breakout rooms. And last question for you, Samiha, how long do we have for this activity?
I would say about 10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay.
Yeah.
Some people are not able to download the screenshots. So if
Okay.
you can copy and paste those prompts in the chat so they could see it via text, that would be great.
Okay.
And my apologies, you did say 10 minutes, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to create the breakout rooms. Before we go into breakout rooms, any questions for Samiha before you're put in breakout rooms?
Hello?
Yes. All right, so no questions for Samiha. We're going into breakout rooms. I will encourage you, please select someone to be the spokesperson for your group. We had a little bit of hiccups with that yesterday, but I so am grateful for all of you all that volunteered. And we are going in breakout rooms right now, and the timer will be starting. All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Samiha. You're on mute, Samiha.
Oh, sorry about that. I hope everyone had enough time to look over the video, think about what were the most important points and how best to convey that in a social media post. I have the document. I'm going to screen share and then ask one person or however many people want to from per group to read off what they decided and maybe explain why exactly they chose to do it.
Samaya?
Yes.
I just want to say, is it Samina or is it Samaya?
Samiha, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Samiha.
Yes.
So I had 2 partners in my group who didn't see the video. I did my best to describe it, so I don't know how this is gonna go, but I'm just letting you know that.
Okay, no problem. And you're from group 1?
1.
Okay. Okay, so that's totally fine. I think I tried my best to guess summarize the video, but that's okay. Whatever you guys have definitely will work. Maybe we'll go from group 4, if group 4 wants to like go backwards so that group 1 gets a little bit of time to uh to finish up because of that difficulty. Is group 4 okay with going first?
Yeah, we can start with group 4. So what I'll do is, Xenia, I'll put you guys back in your breakout rooms and give you a few minutes to look at that over. Samiha, could you put the link to the video in the chat and
Okay.
show the timing for where they should watch it from? And yeah, 'cause they're only going to watch 2 minutes, right?
Yeah, it's just about 2 minutes. I think I
And
have.
Nikki,
Yeah.
I was in that group. I joined so I can prepare for my presentation. Can you not put me in the breakout group? I'm just tuning in to, but I just am working on some stuff, so I'm not really able to participate.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have it in the chat, the link, and then I gave a timestamp 2:31 to 5:10. That's about how much time we watched. So if they
I
want,
don't see the link to the video in the chat, Samiha.
oh, I'll do it all over again.
Yeah. Yotam, you had a question?
Oh no, I thought like she was asking for the group which is ready to present.
Oh, yes. We'll do that in just one second. Thank you.
Are you can you see the link and the timestamp in the chat?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So Xenia, I'll put you guys back in your group.
Okay.
Okay. If group 1 doesn't want to go, group 4 or 2, whichever one, whoever actually is ready to go, we can go there next.
We can go for group 4.
Perfect. Thank you.
Of course. So this is our thing that's highlighted. Pretty much we wanted to do a carousel style of images, which if you've ever like scrolled through images on like Instagram or LinkedIn, that's pretty much what we're talking about. Shout out to Samiha for giving us that vocabulary word. We wanted to use 3 images of a bird's eye view of the airport that was shown in the video, the boats in the ocean, not the ocean, and then having some images of king crabs. And specifically for the airport image, we were thinking of using like white or blue text to contrast with the colors that we saw in the video, and then black text to contrast with the ocean or nautical images, so the crab and then the boats in the ocean. And then we talked a little bit about what we wanted to say or what quotes we would get. And we think that it would be powerful to just really amplify the voices of the people that actually live in that area. So whatever their specific asks are, instead of saying like, come donate to this place or come and be in this spot or whatever, or we need to save them. We were really talking about like bringing awareness to make it a call to action based on the people in the community.
Awesome. That sounds really great. I think I really like the idea of a carousel style image. I mentioned this before to you guys, but I think everyone should know that carousel style images, which is putting multiple images at once in one post, basically, does really well on Instagram. So having that there is really good because it maintains the longevity of the post and its visibility on people's feeds. And I think the idea of using the king crab, the boats, and the airport are really great points to use because the king crab, as Marvin had mentioned, it's pretty intrinsic with his traditions and culture. And the boats in the ocean is, their lifestyle. And then, of course, the airport is to show how kind of isolated they are and why it's so important that they make the king crab get the harvest in before the winter comes in because it's very difficult to get to. And it's, there's no such thing as like, the convenience store that we have in the cities and stuff. So I think you guys chose a really great points of images and also the fact that you want to use quotes from the natives themselves. I think that's really great. I think you guys would have made a really good social media post based on this 2-minute video.
Thank you, and shout out group 4.
Yeah, for sure. Does group 3 or 2 want to go next?
Yeah, so we're group 3, and so we kind of started with thinking that it should include when that man was speaking about how the overfishing of king crabs impacts the access that his community has to food, and how it's like changed the way that he has to, catch them, and then include graphics and information that gave facts about the different wildlife that are being harmed by overfishing, so salmon, king crabs, and whatever else. And we wanted to use blue and salmon pink colors to reflect, nature and the different fishing stuff. And so we wanted to also add the sounds of nature and waves because we felt like it would make it more hopeful and optimistic. But also we felt like the original video felt very suspenseful at times, and so really trying to change the tone. And also, we weren't really sure yet of what the call to action would be, but having some kind of call to action at the end so that the information that they learn doesn't just like end there, it has an actual impact.
Yes, you guys, I think this is a really great way to see it, especially using the quotes and mentioning the overfishing because that is one of the most difficult things that they face. Uh, as a part of the culture, Marvin had mentioned the king crab really is a part of their tradition and how to hunt it, making it you framing it as access to food and the impacts of overfishing. I think that would be really good using the colors blue and salmon pink. I think that's a really great idea, especially because you guys said you wanted to make it a hopeful tone instead of kind of like a suspenseful one. I think that's a great way of shifting tones because the end of the video had been hopeful. Marvin had mentioned that he was, a man of the sea, that this is, something that he really likes. So choosing to make a social media post that's hopeful, that, despite the impact of overfishing and on the king crabs, is a really great way to make a social media post. Thank you guys for sharing that. So group 2, are you guys ready?
Oh, yes. Hello.
Yes, is that your Tom speaking? I think yeah.
Yes. From group 2,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we discussed like having a title like "The Living Adventure of an Alaskan Fisherman" as um our title, our post title, and we also discussed about having a short video made by a cartoon instead of using real people. So people could just go there, see the cartoon video and feel the vibe. And also include the boat in a like in a big wave. No, in a way that is comforting. We know it's there are obstacles, but they will still be victorious at the end. So I think our presentation is there. It can also help us to. I think Steph, you can also come in when I've forgotten something because we discussed lots.
Mm-hmm. No, I think you guys did a great idea. Um, Using the idea of a cartoon might appeal to a different audience, which is good that you guys are thinking of different audiences, right? Some people might like pictures, other people might think an illustrative or cartoon or video might capture the attention better. I think I like the idea of the living adventure of an Alaskan fisherman. I think that's a really creative and unique title that might um, um, that might capture people's attention when it's like that. I think you guys choosing a boat and the big wave, showing the obstacles, and then being victorious at the end is also a great theme. That I think group 3 also mentioned about how to be victorious and hopeful at the end despite the hardship, right? And I think um, the idea of using a cartoon again is really interesting, and it would definitely reach a different audience. And I think that's really good to think about how to reach different people in different ways. So I think you guys did a really good job on that. So I'm hoping group 1 is here now. And if anyone from group one would like to represent and speak on their one.
Sure. I was able to take a look at it. I was just doing like a quick, maybe I'll share. I just grabbed a screenshot and I'm like, I was doing this really quickly, so I couldn't write anything else. But I think Azania was making a really good point of like capturing the landscape. I didn't fully see the entirety of the video, but is it correct they're
Want me to?
overfishing? That's like the natives are in competition with big organizations. So hence the David and Goliath. So maybe having a large fishing vessel in comparison with this small one and a small tagline that says protect native Alaskans' right to live, something along those lines. But yeah, this Xenia, I think there were some connection issues. I'm sorry, I wasn't able to add anything else. Is there anything else you would like for me to add from like the notes that you were sharing with me?
Absolutely. So again, going along with the David and Goliath, one of the things I was sharing about the video with Albert was the fact that, this is their natives' land, they're indigenous to the land. And one of the things was speaking of was the fact that, of the danger of it. So that's why when we talked about how we were captured in an image, we wanted to focus on the landscaping because that's something that resonated with me strongly. The fact that we saw the choppy water, a little boat, and then it all kind of put it in perspective when they showed the image of the international hotel that looked like a shack. So I'm saying, like, that was a powerful image because, like, he also talked about the timeline, which is something I would probably put like in the sound effects would be a ticking clock behind it, like to show how the timeline is really critical for them because they have a short window to do something that's get a food source of subsistence that's so popular in big industry.
You guys both bring great points, the use of landscape, perspective. I love the David and Goliath metaphor we're using because I definitely think it's very much present here. These Native Alaskans are fighting big corporations, and this is their way of life. And they're literally fighting for their life, right? This is their livelihood. If they can't make enough food for the winter, they won't survive, right? And whereas their enemy is literally just commercial fisheries, right? So I think you guys the fact that you guys have quotes, the use of the Alaskan landscape itself to show how harsh but also beautiful, right, that they're of their life and traditions. And I think you guys really got a really good point. Again, I'm gonna say I love that David and Goliath allegory there. And I think you guys did a fantastic job. The fact that you guys were thinking about like the tone, being hopeful, showing off the overfishing as their main obstacle, being able to choose the scenes that you guys wanted. The fact that you guys focused on the king crab, right, being the main item, not item, but the main like driver for this specific part of their tradition and culture. You guys were able to capture that 2 minutes all in a social media post, and I think you guys did a great job because I kind of put you on the spot to do it. But this is exactly what we want to think about when we're helping and creating social media for engagement, for call to actions, or for awareness in general. Because I'm sure many people are not quite aware of these Native Alaskans and their specific plights and difficulties. And so I think you guys did a fantastic job being able to disseminate a 2-minute video, and then coming up with something that you'd make for a social media post. So I'm really wowed and proud of you guys for doing that within this 10-minute short time frame. This is something people, get paid like full-time job for. So you guys did a great job, and I want you guys to think about this is how we want to serve the people, right? It's not just about the nature. I think yesterday's presentation speaker had mentioned it's people over planet, right? The planet is important, but it's the most important thing is the people who live by this planet. And I wanted to show this video specifically because it was about how natives are doing exactly that. They live off the planet, they have the traditions and culture and respect for the planet, and that's our job, I believe, as environmental justice advocates and activists. It's our job to be their voice where they can't, and spread the awareness, call to actions. And the best way we can do that is through social media in this day and age. And you guys did a fantastic job. Thanks, everyone.
I'm out again. What in the name of God is going on here?
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Samiha. So is that what the last thing that we have for today, or was there another activity? I know we have about, excuse me, 15 minutes before our final presenter.
I think that was about it for me.
Okay. Oh, so Jess is here. Jess, are you prepared to go now, or do you need the 15-minute break? Uh, Jess, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Can you
you
hear
now.
me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I could hop in now.
Okay.
But or maybe like, I mean, I was just finishing up like a few more things adding to the slides. But it is I'm just talking briefly about the projects we're doing here at CEEJH, right?
All right, so let's do this. Let's take a 10-minute break and we'll come back and start with Jess.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, so there's no need for introductions today. All of us were here yesterday. So without further ado, Jess, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Nikki. Hey, everybody. It's good to see you for day 2 of the Climate Justice Fellows virtual retreat. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again and kind of continue our conversation from yesterday. Thank you, Nikki. Sorry, just a moment. Okay. So for those of you who were here with me yesterday, as you remember, I am the Director of Communications here at CEEJH. And yesterday, I talked a little bit about my story, coming to communications, and then what goes into the communications at a small nonprofit like CEEJH. So talking about the mission, vision, values, and how that influences tone. And then I shared the example of The Awakening, a video by the Michigan Environmental Justice Coalition that I thought did a really good example of tone. And then talked about what we do behind the scenes for communications with CEEJH. What does it look like on a day-to-day doing communications for an environmental justice nonprofit? So I know that many of you on the call have expressed interest in doing work with me for communications as part of your fellowship. And so I thought I would talk about different needs. So I'll flip back for a moment so I can review kind of what are the communications needs at CEEJH, or what we currently do. So making press releases about current events. So Sonia went over what a press release is, so I'm wondering, yesterday, Sonia, the speaker, went over what a press release is. I'm wondering if anybody could drop in the chat just as a reminder of what a press release is. If anybody remembers, just to make sure that or maybe you can raise your hand if you want to define a press release so that we all on the same page.
I can try. This is Stephanie.
Awesome. Yeah, go for it.
From Wilmington, Delaware. Is this an official statement?
It's 2 o'clock.
Delivered to the media of the purpose of providing like information,
Exactly. Great. So an official statement provided to the media. So if CEEJH could draft a press release in response to Trump's move of putting federal officials in its takeover of DC, CEEJH could write an official press release with either responses, with quotes about how that affects environmental justice, our thoughts and takes on it. That could be part of a press release. A press release could go out. It could be an official statement about, in response to something, an event coming up, or kind of press releases. And these are official statements that we draft and then we can send to journalists. And we also publish them on our website so that they're multiple places. So when you are doing communications for a nonprofit, you end up building kind of a repertoire with different journalists and know which journalists are interested in your stories. And you have to do some research and relationship building with different journalists to know who are the journalists most likely to pick up a story on environmental justice, on climate change, on social justice issues, and reaching out to them. So that's something that happens behind the scenes at specifically our environmental justice nonprofit, but almost all nonprofits. I mentioned email communication, community one-pagers about current work that CEEJH is doing, website content and design, building a resource database, social media, marketing materials, brand assets, and then different toolkits. So, I'm going the wrong way. So for fellows who might be interested in working with me on communications projects, that could look like helping me build out the content calendar. A content calendar is all the different communications, external communications that you are making for your nonprofit. So what day are you going to post what on social media? Making sure you have a post for, let's say, Indigenous Peoples Day or Martin Luther King Day. You have a calendar built out and you have that planned out calendar with what content you were going to post on each day, making sure that it's timely and appropriate for current events, holidays, the season, etc. So that is one idea for what fellows could work with me on, is helping build that out. I've already started producing a list of like important dates regarding environment, in regards to the environmental justice. You know, like the anniversary of Hurricane Katrina is next, or is being recognized next week. Forgive me for not knowing the actual dates, but I know that Taproot and other environmental justice organizations are doing a big event for the anniversary of Hurricane Katrina next week. So that being a key date in environmental justice history, or different annual events. Also assisting with different explainer videos or animations about CEEJH's work. So if you have that skill set or want to learn that skill set, you can work with me to make different videos or animations about CEEJH's work and what we do. Assisting with a monthly newsletter. This is something I draft up. It just started this summer and it will become a monthly thing. So August, I'm in the process of making right now. Creating toolkits with different fact sheets, one-pagers, and brochures on issues of focus for partners. So that right now is air quality and cumulative impacts predominantly. Toolkits, Sonia had talked about on day one as saying that these have everything that a partner might need for amplification of different posts. The fact sheets are one-pagers breaking down the issue, background on the issue, so that anybody who's receiving this toolkit's able to amplify it. And see in the chat. Oh, for is that the date of Hurricane Katrina that was put in the chat? Thank you for that. Yeah, thank you very much for looking that up. And then another idea is building participatory communication projects. So that looks like hand in hand with partners. That's why we say participatory communication projects, photo essays or oral histories, and then assisting with spotlights on yourselves for the Climate Justice Fellows. So I know many of you filled out a form that I'd sent out earlier in the summer about spotlighting Climate Justice Fellows and all of the fantastic work that you all are doing in your individual communities. And I know it's such a fantastic group of fellows here. So putting that spotlight back on you all and helping with that. And then drafting blogs, or as I mentioned, the press releases about current events. So just some of the different projects that if you're interested in working with me on communication stuff could be some of the things you could be working on. And I always encourage folks to highlight your own creativity, your own skill set, and whatever you have, what speaks to you, because communications should be fun, in my opinion. And then also the symposium, there are some very specific projects I'm looking for help with from fellows if you're interested in doing communication. So that would be developing a bingo card to encourage participation during a symposium. So I've seen this at some of the different conferences I've been to that have created a bingo card that say part new. So just a fun little idea. Puts from panelists or keynote speakers to highlight key symposium sessions, interviewing attendees, speakers, or partners for, and then capturing helping calls mentions by partners. So really getting the word out from different sessions. So a lot of calls to actions come from the sessions. Almost every speaker has a call to action, and really capturing those so that those can be amplified via the efforts of CEEJH afterwards. All right. So those are just some of the ideas that if you're interested in working with me on communications, that can reach out to me next week for the fellows who did express interest, and you still have time if you want to join on some communications efforts and work with me. I will drop my email again in the chat. And with some of my remaining time, I wanted to open it up for any questions and then offer some different materials that I thought were really helpful for me and interesting for me in climate communications. But first, I want to open up to questions about any of these projects or about communications in general at CEEJH. I see one hand raised. Remind me how to pronounce your name.
Azania, long A.
Hi, Azania.
Hi. I have a question for you. What would you say would be a baseline communications package or something else besides package for a community-based organization? Like what would be the key products that they should have and maybe templates? Does that make sense?
Are you thinking of like a toolkit, or are you thinking of if you were starting your own organization, what kind of things you need?
I think it's my thinking was really around an organization, like what should their baseline communications package look like, or secondarily, I do like the idea of a toolkit because a lot of times what I found in working with different community-based organizations, and I provide a lot of technical assistance through my LLC, is that they don't have it, not even a baseline. And I'm not the most savvy with I would say social media in terms of the whole, the clean look and all of that, but I know it's essential. And I always say, again, stay ready to keep from having to get. And I think that's something that's missing. I work with 8 states in Region 4, and we're trying to build capacity, and that's a critical area for me.
Definitely heard. And capacity, I feel you on that one. That's a limiting factor for all communications and of small nonprofits and efforts. So I think what I would suggest to you is really honing in on, when you said baseline, it's picking those few channels for communications. If you know videos are not your strengths and videos take a lot of effort, you can just work on, you don't even need to do graphics. You could put different channels like LinkedIn, where you can do a lot more text-based, or Substack and be writing. I think the biggest thing is about having like a consistent channel that you are keeping updated and playing to your strengths, because maybe you don't have the capacity to be doing graphics or videos, which do take a lot more effort. Videos have a lot of traction and all, but they are a lot of effort to be done right. So I think with any kind of small organization, it's about picking a few channels to do and doing them really well and playing to your strengths. So I don't necessarily think that like everyone needs to push themselves to be on Instagram doing graphics if that's just not within their, sometimes it's over capacity. So I think picking a few channels and doing them well is always what I suggest in the communications field. And then you mentioned baseline, having those toolkits, just having a brief overview of what your organization does so that you have a one-pager and you have that kind of like elevator pitch that has your key information on it, your key, and directing them to what channel you are going to be keeping active. Does that answer your question? I'm not sure if you're, oh, I saw you come off mute. Does that help, or I can help clarify further?
No. I was just saying, the piece that I guess I would emphasize is like, should they have an newsletter or vlog? And you answered it with some of it with the one pager, the critical information that they need to provide, and then connecting back to your comment about the calendar, like what is the frequency that you need to be like putting out an email, an e-newsletter or doing a vlog. And these, we are working with a lot of elders, like I said, environmental justice pioneers, and they a little shy around social media and things like that. So
definitely,
that's the audience. And so how do you pass on those skill sets to them or coach them and help them without taking on the thing yourself?
I definitely understand. So that can be a difficult mix. So I'm thinking of, I worked with the Anishinaabe caucus, and they're predominantly older organization, and not a lot of folks who are like social media savvy. And so that's something that they don't really touch. And so with my help with them, I have encouraged them to, lean into the email communication, having, like I said, those kind of one pagers where it's all in one spot, and you can make a digital version of Google Docs. I have found that works well still, digital one pagers. You don't have to, it doesn't always have to be fancy and super designed to be effective, is my kind of belief in that. And you can have, I mentioned the one pagers. If for communications wise, I think as you have updates, I would say like monthly would be the least frequent that I would have your communications be, would be monthly. But again, it's based on your capacity. So it sounds like you're kind of coaching a group for their ability. And I would encourage them monthly and kind of building those kind of evergreen materials about the organization and what you're doing to kind of build that other interest and get more people to be looped into the organization.
Great. Thanks so much, Jessica.
Hopefully that helped. Albert?
No, thank you.
Of course, yeah.
For the symposium projects, is there going to be a sign-up sheet for it? And is this in addition to like the other fellow project we're working on or will be given instructions on?
Hi, Jess.
Perhaps Nikki can jump into that
I
one.
can interject here. So who was that asking the question? Was that Albert?
Yes.
Yeah, Albert. So hopefully you would have received an email from me. You are able to sign up for what you want to volunteer for using that volunteer form. And if you're going to do communications items, we will let the volunteer coordinators know that. But as for these, Jessica calling these symposium projects, these are things that are going to be, let me back up. The first one I know is something that's being developed beforehand. So the other three, pulling the quotes, interviewing attendees, we have that as class. What do we classify that as? Like social media captains or something like that, Jess, on the volunteers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you literally would just sign up for the things that you want to sign up for. So please be sure to, I put the link to the volunteer form in the email that I shared with all of you. So please be sure to go and complete that.
Thank you. And yes, I recall on the initial volunteer, I guess, form. So yeah, that makes sense. Thank you,
Yep.
Nicole.
Azania, did you still have a question about this? Was it for me or for Jess?
No, that's it. That's
Okay,
it. Thank you.
you're welcome. All right, back to you, Jess.
Thank you. Any other kind of questions on communications in environmental justice communications or CEEJH communications or behind the scenes in nonprofit communications? I'll give a little bit more time, and then I wanted to also just share some other kind of resources that I use for communications and take in mind. Okay. Then I will go ahead and share. So can you still see this whole screen? If I click over here, can you see this other page? Okay, I see Nikki with thumbs up. Okay, awesome. So I wanted to share a couple resources, predominantly the Yale Program on Climate Communication and their website. Whenever we're thinking of environmental justice communications, but just climate communications in general, I have learned a lot from spending time on this website with Yale Program on Climate Communications because they do these big reports. I'll go to our research, and you can filter it by all their different years. So since 2004 up till this year, they've done research on audience, beliefs and attitudes, messaging, behaviors and actions, climate impacts, policy and politics. And so they do surveys and what prompts interest in climate change. They do public surveys on opinions on climate change, and that can be used to tailor your messaging. So they've done some very specific ones. They recently released a report, January 2025, America's Support for Climate Justice, and with different takeaways here. Existing climate justice efforts should incorporate climate justice communication more explicitly, and they need the resources to do so. So this, talking again about capacity, talking about different audiences for climate communication. So it says, on the one hand, communities of color and those who are concerned about racial justice are more supportive of climate justice, but not necessarily more aware of it. Educating this audience about climate justice is an important priority. On the other hand, audiences that are less concerned about climate change might dismiss the term climate justice altogether, even though many people in this group may benefit from climate justice initiatives such as job creation and pollution reduction. In these cases, it may be preferable to avoid direct usage of the term climate justice and talk more about local harms and benefits. For all audiences, stories and testimonials from people in affected communities can make issues more relatable and urgent. So I find that reading their different reports on climate change beliefs and attitude and opinions can help tailor communications. So they have all these different ones. One I would suggest everybody to watch is How Environmental Justice Advocates Use Public Opinion Research to Win. And so this it's a hour-long panel with different panelists from organizations that you're probably familiar with, such as We Act, and it talks about their findings and on climate communications. So polling Black and Latina communities on climate change and the clean energy transition. I need to refresh this page to have it load. Looks like it's still struggling to load, but it really, when you know your audience, which is the most important part of communications, is knowing who is your audience, who's engaging with your content, who are you trying to speak to, can help you tailor your messaging. So just as the other report said on climate justice, knowing whether or not who your audience is to know whether or not people are going to tune out if they hear the word climate justice or not. This talks about some of LEAC's research with, Black and Latinx communities feel the impact of climate change firsthand, but overall say the economy and job growth demand more urgent attention when asked about their top issue priorities. So making sure that when we talk about perhaps renewable energy projects, and depending on knowing our community that we're talking to, we focus on job growth potentials within renewable energy projects as opposed to how they might mitigate carbon emissions and serve as a mitigative tool for climate change. So I encourage everybody to just check out some of these resources. I'll put them in the chat. Any questions while I drop these in the chat?
Thanks, Jess. I'm gonna ask that when you are sharing the resources, um, take that back. When you share the slides with me, if you could put the links to these resources in the chat, and I'll be sure to get them to everybody.
Definitely.
Yeah, I don't think some people have the ability to save the chat. I know some folks were having connection issues.
Definitely. That was the biggest resource that I wanted to share with folks when it comes to climate communications. So that was it. I know I don't have a ton of time. I think it was just a half hour, so I think I already may have reached that, but I will just kind of offer to answer any questions that other folks might have.
All right. Any more questions for Jess before we start closing out? All right. Well, if there are no questions, we're going to go ahead and start our closeout process. If you happen to come up with a question, please put it in the Q&A box, and we'll be sure to go back and make sure Jess gets that question. Hopefully she can answer it for you. We'll send it out via email. Also, if you have any questions for any of our previous speakers, whether it's Sonia, Samiha, or Mariah, please also put those questions in the Q&A, and we'll go through and just grab all of the questions out of the Q&A that have not been answered and get those responses back to you. You can look out for us from us, the recordings for yesterday and today's session, in addition to the slides that are going to be associated with every one of the presenters. And then that is the gist of everything we have. I do have some other announcements for fellows. I mentioned this earlier, so I'll mention it to the new folks who are on. Our hybrid fellows, you guys know you guys are required to participate in in-person symposium. If you have not received that email from me, please double check because you have some things that are due to CEEJH before August 22nd because we have deadlines that we have to adhere to on our end with the hotel. So we're going to ask you to please get those things completed. One is that volunteer form that I mentioned. Um, I do want to highlight a few other things. I do believe that I think our guests that were not fellows, they may have dropped off the call, but just in case, I wanted to alert individuals who are not fellows that the hotel block has been extended, but hotels close the hotel block closes on August 20th. So please be sure to get your reservation done if you feel the need to do that. Please go ahead and do that. Hybrid fellows, you're asked to register for the in-person session. That's going to close soon. Virtual fellows, you also have a separate link to register for symposium via virtual symposium. Please make sure you get that filled out. One important key thing to note for our fellows, you guys need to register using the email at which we do our correspondences with for you. There's also a workshop that is coming up. Let me put it in the chat for you because the deadline, I think, to register for that is on Monday, actually, August 18th. It is not a CEEJH workshop, but it is a workshop that you guys can participate in. It's connecting, excuse me, trail professionals, or you can attend the National Trails Workshop at no cost to you. One of our senior fellows, Chad, shared that information with us. And then, yeah, those are the big things that you need to look out for. But we will put information about other resources in I'll put it at the end of the last slide for you. Right now, wanted to make sure I got those reminders out of the way. I do want to open it up though, because some of you did a little bit of this this morning with Mariah and myself. We do have a few new people on. I would like for you guys to share with Jess your key takeaways from her presentation, because I know someone actually mentioned something from your presentation that they enjoyed yesterday, Jess, but you weren't on the call this morning. So yeah, I would love for, was it you, Octavia? I'm sorry, I didn't want to put you on the spot, but I'm not remembering who it was. But someone said they really enjoyed you talking about the memes and the meme exercise.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh,
I think it was me that said that because I thought that the meme exercise was really cool. It was nice to be hands-on.
thank you. Yeah, the meme exercise is what I think I mentioned yesterday, what got me into, like, kind of oddly enough, it kind of got me into climate communications, is doing a meme challenge in my energy justice class at University of Michigan. And that kind of changed the direction of my focus into communications, oddly enough.
yeah, thanks
And
for
so I
that.
encourage you all, like, memes can be very effective, so make the memes.
Thank you, Jess. And those are all of the reminders that I have for everyone today. It is Saturday. I know where some of you are. It is now late in the evening because we've been on for about 4 hours. So I just want to thank all of our international fellows again for joining us, especially those of you who are not close to our time zone, because we had a lot of fellows today from India, Ghana, Nigeria, DRC, Malawi, Canada, Mexico, Ivory Coast. So I really appreciate you guys sticking it out with us. And I do hope that you enjoyed this, and this has made your fellows experience worth it. So I'm looking forward to seeing you either in person or virtually for symposium. And I'll be sure to see everybody on Monday to talk about our final assignment. That said, Jess, we did a virtual group haiku today. I put that in the chat for you. It's in the, oh, I put it in the PM portion, so I didn't have to resend it to everybody else. But in case you wanted to share that as well, I did put that there. So
I
thank you
just read
again.
it. Beautiful.
All right. And with that, I'm going to say good evening, good day.